And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we are focused on Star Trek, the original series episode, The Apple. Father, are you...
AKA the one where they go to Donald Trump's home planet.
Yes.
No, it's his hairdresser. It's his hairdresser.
It's true.
I just picture like in 1967, there was like this 30-year-old dude in New York being like, "That looks so cool. I want to look just like that someday."
Well, Kirk should
I'll just go a little bit orange than red.
Kirk should never have liberated them. Look what they spawned. What the children of these people. It's like they were just fine when they couldn't have
children
kids.
Of the children of Vaal.
Yeah, it's true.
The children of Trump.
The children of Trump. But anyways, indeed, right to the point. Welcome back. We took a hiatus from our weekly TOS discussions. I'm so happy to be back. Nice to see you, Ian. Nice to see you, Robbie. And nice to see you, Fathery. Last night was lit on Starfleet Boy After Dark. So if you missed that, go and check it out later on. And yeah, so here we are. Who wants to do the episode summary for this one? Anyone? No one? No volunteers? All right, yes. You do that, and I'll tend to the tweets and the chat for a second. I'll be right back.
So the episode opens with a landing party beaming down to a paradise-like world. It's a nice forest with like, I don't know, a pretty red sky that they all seem to like, and a lot of trees and plant life. But it's incredibly deadly. Like everything is booby trapped or weaponized. The plants are shooting thorns that kill red shirts. People are getting struck by lightning. There are exploding rocks that if you step on will just blow up like a mine in a minefield. And the planet is inhabited by these very simple, childlike humanoids who worship a giant,
very innocent, yeah.
They worship a giant like lizard head computer named Vaal, and they feed it and tend to it and take care of it. And they've lived this way for thousands of years in total stagnation with no societal development, dependent on their computer overlord. And Kirk says, well, that'll be enough of that. And he tries to liberate them from the computer. And they're instructed by the computer to like bash them on the back of the head and kill them because it wants to maintain its status quo. But Kirk is able to, with the help of Spock, coordinate a phaser strike from the Enterprise, and they blast Vaal and destroy it. And then it's like, okay, well, now y'all are free and you can grow and develop as a people. And you're also allowed to have sex now. So you're welcome. Bye.
In fact, Chekhov introduces them.
He tries to give them a demonstration. What's his name? Anton Yelchin used to always talk about this episode about like it's so weird. Like, the whole episode, Chekhov's just trying to like make out with his girlfriend.
Who we never. This is the yeoman of the week who we never see again. Another yeoman of the week, and an interesting tidbit. She's wearing Grace Lee Whitney's actual costume for this.
That's funny because for some reason watching it today, I was like wondering. I was like, I wonder if that's just like the same red uniform that they used for Rand.
Yeah, totally. Good job with the summary. Very concise and to the point. I mean, just kind of like not much. It
also proves if you're going to be a red shirt, you've got to be a woman. Because if you're a man, you're screwed.
This episode,
she's pretty cool. Like she kicks ass when they're fighting really the children of Vaal. Like
definitely.
She like rolls that dude and then kicks that other dude in the chest.
Yeah. She kicked butt. Yeah.
She's also, not to be shallow here, but she's gorgeous, and I love this the flower in her hair. And when she's talking about like how the heck do they, what happens if one of them dies in an accident? Like how do they get a new one? And they're like, well, I'm sure Vaal sends instructions on what to do at that point. Which is really funny.
How do you make a Vulcan? Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, how do you make a Vulcan embarrassed? Ask him about sex. I'm sure they get instructions.
Well, when a mom and dad really like each other, and it's the right time after 7 years.
It's true.
She rubs
We
the
also,
tummy and it appears.
I kind of dismissed this episode. I saw it when I was a kid. I used to get really scared about Vaal, and my dad used to make it scary and be like, "Oh, we're gonna take you to that cave, like if you don't behave, that kind of
I'm gonna
feed
feed you to Vaal.
to feed you to Vaal." But then I guess like this is the first time like because of these discussion series where I was like critically watching it, I suppose, and I was like really impressed at how much stuff is in this that's very Star Trek, like Spock dying for Kirk, like stepping in front of the thing, and how Kirk really like gets emotionally struck by that, and the caring, and like he's all the whole thing about the Prime Directive, and like there's so much in this episode. It's like scattered everywhere, but it's kind of like so much stuff that we see over later on. And of course I discovered the apple. That's like he's eating the apple, and like the whole apple trope that kind of emerged from that in Star Trek 2, and then again in the Kelvin thing, and the fact that the episode's called The Apple. I just got really meta with this this viewing of it, and I was really into all these like weird connections that my brain was making. Did you guys see any of that stuff too?
I've always kind of liked this episode. I always thought this was a pretty solid one. It's not great or like super memorable. I probably wouldn't put it in like the top 10, but I think it's a very solid season 2 episode. It's unfortunate that we've talked about before how season 1 did a lot more location shooting, and I feel like if they like went back to the park and were like actually outside and not on a sound stage, they might have been able to sell us on the idea of like this is a paradise planet a bit more, kind of like Shore Leave.
Yeah, 100%. There were some really good reasons for like the look of the planet. Like he does describe at one point that somehow Vaal is able to stabilize the whole planet to be one temperature. So like it's perpetually like 70 something degrees. The sun seems to always be setting. So there's like, there's a lot of technology. It looks, very primitive and rudimentary, but there's a lot of technology at play that's keeping this planet in this kind of like idyllic state. And so like that was, I think, that was an interesting thing to me. But yeah, in execution, it doesn't quite work as cool as it sounds.
Yeah, but the concept is cool.
Yeah. And I found out Ryan Thomas, shout out to Ryan Thomas Riddle on Twitter. He linked me to this article on Hero Collector. And in the comics, they actually further explored like what happens to these people. And I know I'm like kind of like skipping to the I was gonna save this for the ending, but the Kirk and crew go back to this planet, and it's a chaos, like it's terrible. And Kirk regrets like liberating them, and offers himself to Vaal as like a sacrifice, who merges with Spock, by the way, because Spock mind melds with Vaal in the comic. And so it's like a Spock Vaal hybrid type of thing. And Vaal actually like decides to spare Kirk, and then everyone's returned to their pre sort of state, and Vaal takes control again. So it's really weird. I don't think I agree with that. I'd like to revisit this episode on screen, so with a little different twist. What do you guys feel about revisiting this episode in a future Star Trek, probably Lower Decks? And how would you imagine?
I think it'd be more of a Lower Decks episode.
And how would you
They already
imagine?
did that though. With the Gorn wedding, you see Vaal is like in the background of the Gorn wedding.
But is it Vaal? Is it like actually Vaal? Because it could have just been a Gorn head. Like it doesn't have like the really prominent, like here, move over, Fathery, for a second, just like to show Vaal. See how he has these prominent spikes? That one doesn't have it though. Here, I'll try to pull up the image here. Gorn wedding. It's easy. It's one of the few things I bet you could type in Google and it only yields one result, which is that Lower Decks episode. Okay, here's a really good shot of it. Let me see here. All right. Although it could
I'd be
hidden.
Curious to hear what people in the comments, what their theory is on the the Gordon wedding location.
Sub Commander Tall jokingly suggested that the Gorn enslaved these people as food stock, and I like that. Like,
Yeah. For all we know, there are
Yeah, but-
some horned Gorn.
Yeah, if
true.
if they were going to be food stock, surely they'd let them breed.
Well, these might be like there might be another side of the planet, or I don't know. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like a joke that he suggested. But
Yeah.
here's the Gorn wedding, which is at Vasquez Rocks, which is really
Everything's at Vasquez Rock.
Everything's at Vasquez Rocks. And so yeah, it looks more like a Gorn than a snake, whereas Vaal to me looks more like a snake. Of course, he's got fire coming out of his eyes, or it's got fire. But it is the same vibe, Fathery. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
So they haven't actually done it. I don't know. I don't think they've actually really referenced it, except for like in that it's suggested that it's the same thing.
I would like a lower deck story where one of the crew members of the USS Cerritos enters Vaal, and like there's this whole kind of internal body.
That would be honest.
To be honest, that's the type of thing that happened to Boimler, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, totally which, by the way, it's Jack Quaid's birthday today, so happy birthday to Jack Quaid.
Oh, cool.
Who plays Boimler. I saw that on Twitter. Not that he's watching
to him.
Or if you are watching Jack Quaid, happy birthday to you. Live long and prosper. And I can't wait to see your cosplay as Boimler at Mission Chicago. Which is gonna be very cool.
He's gonna cosplay as Boimler.
I don't know if this is like Mike McMahon. Well, he said he was going to cosplay as Boimler, and then Mike McMahon was all into it, and then got the whole cast to agree to cosplay at Mission Chicago as their live action counterpart characters.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so they're all
poor,
like
what's her name? Noelle, the one who plays Tindy. She's gonna have to be painted green.
Painted green, yeah. Noelle Wells, exactly.
Noelle Wells, yeah. She's from Texas.
Yeah,
could
yeah.
You could you imagine the Cation being dressed up as a cat?
Teana. Is it Teana, right? Dr. Teana?
Yeah.
In the chat, hello, Cake is Eternal. Welcome. No worries. You didn't miss much. Just a really cool summary from Fathery and just a lot of talk about connections to this episode. Hey, Cake. Oh, cool. Season 4 episode. Is this about this is about that's a reference to Babylon 5.
I think she's talking about Babylon 5, which we will be discussing on Text Trek Friday live at I think 7:30 p.m. Central.
Yep. Hey, Captain Killy, nice to see you from Twitter, and welcome to the stream, and thank you for saying hello. Evening to you. Very, very cool. Yeah, so what else did you guys think about this episode? What was your like highlight moment? What was like, tell me about your feelings.
My highlight, but actually it's there. My highlight moment when I was a kid, because we were talking about it was a kid, was David Soul. At the time, watching Star Trek, I was a huge Starsky and Hutch fan, and of course, David Soul played Hutch in Starsky and Hutch in the TV series.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and you know the two that are watching, who are watching basically check off. Yeah, that's David Soul.
No way.
Yeah, David Soul, and being a huge Starsky and Hutch fan as a kid,
you're absolutely right. Like I'm seeing the face now. Oh wow!
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I had a poster of Starsky and Hutch on my wall when I was a kid.
I loved
and of course David Soul's on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, that was always a thing saying, "Oh, Hutch is on Star Trek."
Oh my gosh, what a cool connection. I didn't even realize that. That's funny. I noticed that the main guy, what's his name? Akuda.
Akuda Matata.
Akuda Matata, yeah, I wrote that on Twitter. Akuda apparently was like a golden age screen actor. He died sadly in 2005, but yeah, I liked him a lot. I like the way the actor portrayed him, and he's very much a hunk too. So I mean, all of everyone in this episode is really fit, as they say, and like people are shirtless.
Yeah, they're supposed to be in perfect health.
Yeah, in perfect health. I like that scene also this was like one of the times where I was like, oh, like there's like a really sciencey thing. Like McCoy, McCoy was referencing like actual medical conditions that cause aging and stuff like that. And I can't repeat them right now. I'm not that good at remembering those things, but that was pretty cool in that moment. But yeah, that was what did you think of the feeders of Vaal? I guess the Vaalians. I was trying to remember their name. They're not really called anything in the episode.
I think just the children of Vaal in the. Was it like the that book that came out in the late 80s that had all the different Star Trek species? Let me go grab it. Let me see what it calls them.
Oh, I have that.
Worlds of the Federation, right?
Yeah, let me go
grab it.
Oh, you can grab your copy. That's cool.
Scotty's saying children of Vaal.
What did you think about the Tahitian vibes? I saw that posted on Twitter of the children of Vaal.
The children of Trump. It just keeps going through my head. Children of Trump.
They do. They look like tall Oompa Loompas. It's true.
Trumpalumpas.
We can't have a serious discussion about this episode. What were you going to say, Robbie?
They reminded me visually of the people from Angel One, the TNG episode, when Wesley breaks the glass with.
Yes. I remember the one. Where Wesley's been told he's got to die because he falls on the floor.
That's Justice, and that's not Angel One, but they do have like that kind of simplistic lifestyle vibe and scantily clad, cultural dress, like going on. It's true, very true. Father, you found the book, which I have that same book too, so it's very cool. It's called World of the Federation.
Old and it's not canonical, but it's cool because it has original series, animated series, and like the first season of Next Generation creatures.
Oh yeah, look at that. Very, very cool.
Let me see what they call them in here. But it's gonna take me a while to find it, I think.
All right, while you look that up, let's see here. So yeah, Father, I was asking what everyone thought of the Tahitian vibes. Earl Grey Trekkie was saying they were reminiscent to the guys in the planet Justice, that planet where and it is actually Earl Grey Trekkie. You're right, Robbie. You're right, because they had a god protecting their planet and keeping it in a certain state. That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. Very, very good link. I also thought it was interesting. We haven't seen we don't, obviously there's the Orions and the Andorians that are a totally different color, but I thought it was interesting to see yet another species that had a wild kind of skin color to them, because it was a mauve or chartreuse, or what is it actually, that color? It's a
red type, which was orangey red, wasn't it?
Orangey red, yeah. I know sometimes they look purplish, yeah. Sometimes though they look purplish to me and stuff like that. But yeah, they also it's interesting. I guess the Nibiruans in the Kelvin universe are kind of like that. They were just they had an interesting kind of tropical island, primitive sort of vibe going on in that as well. And of course, they end up worshiping the Enterprise. So who knows what'll happen to those guys?
I actually think it's. I mean, as a backwards race is probably not the best way to describe them, but as a naive race.
Stunted, perhaps, because intentionally stunted. Yeah,
Vaal's control. I thought it was quite a good portrayal. That they didn't need the trappings and everything that we have. They just had the coverings and everything else. And there you go. There's Vaal.
Oh, hey, look at that!
Vaal.
Yeah,
but I don't see the children of Vaal. They might not be in here. I thought they would be.
But yeah, saying that as a race, a tribe, whatever you want to call it, I think it was quite a decent a decent portrayal, because as I said, they didn't need the trappings that we have, the clothing, everything like that. Everything was provided for them. They had no wants, they had no needs, and they just and they were. Yeah, naivety is probably still not the right word, but innocence about them, which was quite good. Even when Vol told them how to kill, there was still that innocence to think, well, Vol's told us to do it. It's the right thing to do. It's not killing is bad. Yet let's just do what Vol says. So yeah, I think it's that type of thing, and it was quite a good portrayal. I
thought it was really well thought. It was thought out, and they were pretty like well developed, because like even in the beginning when they first arrive, and Kirk is like excuse me, Kirk ambushes the main guy, Akuda, and he whacks him, and Akuda's crying. Yeah, he's like crying, and it's like, yeah. And so from that moment, that's what intrigued me. Like, that was an unusual sort of thing. I didn't expect. I kind of had forgotten that.
Star Trek subversion.
What's that?
It's the subversive nature of Star Trek.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's like, and Kirk immediately is moved by that and affected by that. And he's like, hey, I'm not going to strike you. I'm not going to hit you again. Like, I mean, no harm. I was defending myself. Like, I really vibed with that watching it this time.
That same characteristic that makes them kind of, innocent and sympathetic. And, you kind of feel sorry for them. You don't have like any like, hatred of them or anything. It's not their fault. But that same naive nature is also what makes them very dangerous threats later, when he's like, oh yeah, Vaal said just like walk up behind him and like bash him on the head like this with a stick. And,
right.
and they're just like obediently going to go and do that. And so like there's a lot of like tension and danger at that point.
Of course, they do start to, glean a different way and start to expand their thoughts and stuff like that because of the interference or influence of Kirk and crew, and then ultimately they're somehow freed and they're going to find their own way afterwards. But yeah, there is something interesting. Like Bones also said that they could have been in this state for 20,000 years and we wouldn't even know it, like, which is interesting too. In that article, I didn't have a chance to finish reading. I was just kind of perusing it, but Father or whoever, who were those guys in the big spheres? Remember, what's that episode? The
big spheres.
You remember the big spheres, and they inhabit.
Oh, are you talking about the First Federation?
Yeah.
The Carbonite maneuver.
No, sorry, not that. They're like these spheres that talk, and then they inhabit like the crew.
It's the one where they inhabit. It's the one they inhabit. Kirk, Diane Mulder, Spock.
Yeah, ones. Exactly. It's the Diane Mulder one. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
There's a connection to that.
It's not tomorrow. It's yesterday. It's return to tomorrow.
Return to tomorrow. Thank you. There's a suggestion that those guys created Vaal and created the planet to be this like pristine, like perfect place.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's interesting.
The thing is, though, if you're going to create this perfect place, why on earth are you going to leave landmines that can kill anybody at any time?
By the way, the stunt person who did that, I forget his name right now, but he got severely injured from that stunt. Apparently, he's a famous stunt man.
Oh, the running stunt.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
And we lose how many red shirts in this episode? This is like kind of the episode that like
you lose. There are
20 minutes. Yeah, constantly, just bam, bam, bam. They're just dropping like flies.
Yeah, and as I said, the only time you can ever be a red shirt is if you're a woman, because they're kick ass. They really are kick ass. She held it, as I said, she held her own.
And Scotty,
she had to deal with Chekhov all the time.
Even though Scotty was killed, yeah, it's true. Even though Scotty was killed,
Scotty was not killed
and brought back to life
not in this episode, but in the series.
I'm just saying he is a red shirt technically who got killed in an episode. And
Well,
was
in Star
brought back
Trek
to life.
2, they make everyone a red shirt, and then they were able to kill Spock.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's true. But yeah, this
Did
is
you-
probably this credit is probably where that kind of trope
Yeah.
or that meme came
I think this
from.
episode had a big role to play in making
In
that red shirts die thing a thing.
Yeah. Did you also notice that they still obviously were talking about money? Because Kirk says to
Yes.
Spock, "Do you know how much they got invested in?" He goes, 120,000, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
So
but
obviously
maybe he
it's
was
not
going to say
until
like
the end.
hours of training or something, or like something else. We don't
I
know.
do-
He's like interrupted
Yeah.
before he finishes.
It really did imply money more than anything else.
It is well they do reference it, that's something that changes. I think the first time it's ever said, in fact, is in TNG in the
Star Trek 4.
You're right. Sorry, we don't have money in the future. That's right. Thank you.
It's weird that it changes from 3 to 4 like that, because in 3 McCoy is trying to like buy a trip to
passage.
Genesis.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
right.
in 4 they're like, oh yeah, they were still using money in the 20th century.
Yeah, it's totally true. and in this series, they definitely suggest that the Starfleet personnel earn a commission and have credits. I think they even refer to it as credits or something like that. So yeah, there's definitely something going on there, and then it shifted in Star Trek 4, probably meant as a gag. And then it became a thing where everyone's like, yeah, there's no money in the future, and why should there be? It's like...
you've got to see Scotty's fly metaphors comment. Red shirt death is a unit of exchange in Trek, and it's red shirt invested 120,000 red shirts deaths in Spock's career.
Oh, that's really funny.
Oh, I believe it.
Jill, what are these timestamps? Scotty's fly metaphors. What are these timestamps that you're putting on here? I'm curious. Or do they not have anything to do with us?
I think they're watching the episode right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Right on.
I do quite like that Kirk fires Scotty and then he rehires him again in the episode.
That's true.
I think if they made this one today, they would they might like approach some of it differently, because this has
100%.
a lot of was very common in the original series, but it's like the main characters, like the heroes, the advanced Federation people, like always seem to know what's best, and a lot of the original series is about like showing up at a planet and being like, oh my god, like your whole society is backwards, and here I'm going to help you get on the right course. And I think now like people are a little bit more thoughtful about like colonization and stuff like that, and they might approach it differently if it was made today.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it would probably the same outcome, but like more like the feeders of Vaal or the children of Vaal wanting to, like, there would probably be more of a detection of like suffering or something like that to make it more appropriate, because they were happy, like, there is an argument to be made that if you just left him alone, what harm would have been done? Like Val is just protecting him, and there was obviously the dilemma with the ship being pulled in.
You can just put up a warning buoy and be like, don't
come here.
I mean, it's like most things. I mean, they people say money can't buy you happiness. It's a lot of things. If you don't know you haven't got it, you're happy in what you have. If that they were there, they had their life, they had they wanted for nothing, they needed nothing, everything was there for them. All they had to do was feed Vaal, which they were quite happy to do. Why change that? Why make them have to go on and self-evolve and everything? If they're happy with the status quo, I think they were wrong to try and change it for them,
especially since they're on their own planet now. I mean, obviously it negated the Prime Directive in a sense, because they were under the influence of a machine, and perhaps that is abhorrent to to Kirk. I mean, he does like to destroy the machines, the computers. Like he doesn't like these oppressive computers.
Yeah,
it's like his
he
mission.
doesn't like gods and he doesn't like computers. And Vaal was being both. So there's no way this episode is going to end with Vaal alive.
Yeah, it's true. totally agreed on that one.
But this is the first episode that Kirk doesn't talk a computer to destroy itself. He has to use the phasers to destroy
he has
it.
to overpower it a different way, which is good. It's like not the same trope over and over again. But I guess later on in the comics, it's revisited, and he does kind of do something like that.
So he comes back to talk it to
just to talk it to death. I didn't kill you the first time the right way, so I've come back.
What did you think to the wire coat hangers?
Oh, are you talking about
basically they took the wire coat hanger, cut it, twisted at the ends, and said, "Okay."
I didn't even realize that, but that's an easy thing to cosplay. You just given me a great idea.
White wig, red paint, and that's it.
Super
I'll be buff.
easy. It's true. Yeah, the buff part you can paint in shadows in the right places. It can work. What's that?
Like they did in 300.
In 300, exactly. I could paint in some abs.
Paint on abs, yeah. The design predates the Andorians, so I wonder if they were thinking of this when they did the Andorians later.
I read on Memory Alpha that they made a joke about My Favorite Martian because when the designer saw that like what needed to be created, he was like joking about My Favorite Martian. And ironically, Ray Walston, who plays My Favorite Martian, ended up being Boothby on Star Trek. So there's like a really funny connection there. But yeah, it did remind me of My Favorite Martian a little bit, which I used to watch that show in syndication as well. Kirk still drains the enemy of power before shooting it, though. I really liked the feeders of Vaal until they started laughing at Spock. I forgot, what were they laughing at Spock about again?
I thought his name was funny.
His name, because they asked him what his
that's
name
right.
was. They laughed at his name.
Maybe that means something real funny in their
someone
language.
named Akuda is laughing at someone named Spock. That's funny.
But that name Akuna, I feel like that might be part of the theme they were going for. Like, do y'all think it was supposed to be kind of like a Pacific Islander, kind of like tropical, like Tahiti or Hawaii? Excuse me. Like when they are wrapping the flowers around their arms and stuff, it's kind of like in Hawaii when they put the flower necklace, the lei on you when you arrive and stuff. Yeah. And like the grass huts, they're very like Pacific Islander, Polynesian looking.
I still think Spock has some of the best lines. Because there's the one there. He says after he's been shot with the bits, and he says, "Oh yeah, McCoy's concoctions are like all of them. They turn my stomach." And then there's the other one after they put the flowers on him, and he says, "Yes, sir, they make me increasing. Was it very uncomfortable?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Still has some of the best lines.
We get McCoy doing one of his green blood things where he's like, "Well, if your blood wasn't green, you might not feel that way," or something like that.
Not that he's just come back from the dead. He's been resurrected more times than Jesus. Yeah.
I didn't realize the when Spock gets hit by the spores or whatever and is injected with the toxins and passes out. That's kind of like I've seen that on Twitter a lot. That little GIF used of his expression as he's passing out, where he's like, like he kind of like has an exaggerated.
Funny looks on his face. In this episode.
It's true.
He's getting beat up. He gets struck by lightning.
Going back to that scene for a second, another scene that impressed me in this episode was that scene where they have the exchange afterwards, where Kirk is like, "Look, I could have easily," he's like, "Don't put yourself at risk for me unnecessarily." Like, it's an interesting exchange between a captain and a subordinate, because and Spock genuinely is like, "Okay, I understand. I apologize." It's like there's this weird kind of like. Thing, and again it echoed like it made me feel more, because Spock's like, yeah, I'll do whatever you say, Captain, but he's gonna save him every single time. Like Spock just like can't, he's gonna put himself on the line for Kirk, and it's really powerful. I love that scene, and I like the exchange in there, and I thought it was interesting that they put that in there. We also get the concept of that the nacelles can be detached. and that the saucer section could be detached from this episode. Apparently, they were going to try to do it, and they didn't do it. We don't see it until the pilot of TNG, of course.
Yeah,
but
we wanted to do that for a long time because that was in the script for the motion picture. There's like concept art of like that happening.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, the only time you actually get to see the saucer set for the Enterprise is in Star Trek Continues. They actually do it in the last 2 episodes. I think is in Star Trek Continues. The Vic Mañana.
Oh, you're absolutely right. That's right.
They actually do a saucer separation on that. So I think it's in the last. I think it's because on a double episode.
And of course, and we get an idea of what the mechanism is like in Star Trek Beyond, because one of the things is they have to detach the neck from the saucer in that movie. So that was cool that we got to see that. Like that was kind of a cool little, a way of having it. Cool. Any other thoughts on the Children of Vaal, guys?
It's an enjoyable episode. Sorry, Robbie, I didn't mean to butt in.
No, sorry.
Go for it.
I thought this was quite a relaxing episode. It's quite predictable, and the characters are all quite funny at times, and it felt a bit different to me, although it was a bit generic, but it felt very different to me than some of the episodes we've already seen. I can't pinpoint really why it was different, but maybe it was just because it was a bit more basic.
It's a basic bitch episode.
Did you all notice that Kyle was in the helm? Position. Normally, Transporter Chief Kyle.
Oh,
he was actually in the helm position.
I did notice that Uhura and Sulu were absent.
So Kyle is on the helm's position. Lieutenant
George
Kyle
Takei is gone for a lot of season 2 because he was shooting the Green Berets, that John Wayne movie.
Yeah.
Oh, we were just talking about John Wayne movies earlier. That's cool. I didn't realize that. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, because obviously Carl comes back again in Wrath of Khan as well.
Robbie, it's interesting you put it as a relaxing episode. I actually agree. It's like it's a weirdly relaxing episode to watch. Like I was trying to think when you said that, I was like, you know what? Like I felt so like relaxed watching it. It's true. Even though there's a lot of tension and drama.
A lot of death at the beginning.
Yeah, a lot of death at the beginning. But there's something about it which makes me want to take that vacation finally and go to Hawaii, because I feel like, there's not going to be a giant snake cave. Maybe there is one in Hawaii. That would be cool. I feel like you could make that. You could make Vaal out of paper mache pretty easily.
Don't they? They don't have snakes in Hawaii, or like they used.
It's Ireland. Ireland has no snakes.
Ireland doesn't have snakes.
Yes, St. Patrick chased them all away.
That's actually like me, like, growing up in the country. Like I'm always like scared of snakes if I'm in like a grassy area. And so, like, when I was, like, walking around in Ireland, it was so nice to be able to, like, I don't have to worry about snakes.
Is it really true that there are no snakes in Ireland? And if it's true, are you forbidden to have a snake pet or anything? Like, are they hardcore?
I don't know.
I've never heard of that.
Because a snake could escape easily from its, and then you'd have a snake in Ireland. It's like the whole country would be in an uproar. So
there are plenty out there you can ask. You can ask Hen in the Hat. You can ask Trek Collector. You can ask the Irish Trekkie.
I feel like you would get three. I feel like you get 3 different answers from all 3 of those people, which would be really interesting. I might just do this. I might just have to tweet them a question about it. I
think Hen in the Hat would make you a snake if you wanted to. She's that good.
She's crafty.
I tried so hard to get a Wesley.
Oh, the
beanie.
beanie.
Yeah, but I wasn't able to. It sold out before, and then there was a contest, and I didn't win the contest. I really wanted that Wesley beanie. It's so cool. She's amazing. Unsolicited shout out to Hen in a Hat.
Oh, absolutely. Well, actually, all three of them, to be honest.
Yeah, all three of
All three of them
Damien,
are great.
the Irish Trekkie, and also Chris
Damien,
Chris
Damien,
Judge.
Chris,
Yeah,
Linda. Damien, Chris, and Linda. They're cracking.
yeah,
And nice. I've met both Damien and Chris. So they are really nice guys. Yeah.
It's true. No snakes in Ireland. Maybe a few escaped pets, but no native snakes. All right, so there might be pets.
They're normally called politicians. Really, so. Come back next week for my next show.
Scotty in charge of the Enterprise now 2-3 times is like in the same season, right? Like he's quite. What were you gonna say, Father?
No, I was just checking with Antonia because she grew up in Hawaii, and she's like, "No, there are no snakes in Hawaii."
Oh, I like that. I just saw a garden snake in my garden the other day, and I was freaking out. I was like Boimler, yelling and screaming and running around like it was so scary.
You gotta go get the hoe and chop it up.
Is that what you do? I love it when Scotty has the bridge. Me too. He's quite good too in this episode. And we get some of the Scotty.
She said earlier that it was Kirk that drained some of the power of Vaal. No, it was Scotty, because it was Scotty that did everything about working to try and, because obviously the Enterprise is in this tractor beam and he tries to pull back, and that's what drains some of Vaal, and that's when the gong starts and they stop the feeders feeding Vaal. So I would say it was Scotty, not Kirk.
But what are they feeding it? Like, is it just like baskets of fruit?
Fruit,
like that's a really weird way to power a computer.
Well, I imagine that it's very efficient at converting, plant matter into energy, but it just needs someone to feed it, which is really hilarious to me. Like that's like such an advanced computer, but it can't build like little robot versions of itself to go out.
Or have like a conveyor belt.
Yeah, just
like solar panels.
Let's put up some solar panels.
Good point, Robbie. It's true. Updated Vaal design with solar panels coming your way shortly. That's a good idea. Yeah, there's definitely, when you could easily start picking apart the the nature of the stasis of this balance and so on and so forth.
But we don't know where it came from. That's part of what makes it mysterious. Is like we don't really understand this computer, or who would build it like this, or why.
It's true. Before we conclude, I do want to say that so the episode is very obviously referencing the expulsion from paradise myth, as well as the apple is a reference to that as well, with the fruit, the tree of knowledge and the fruit of the tree of knowledge and things like that. And they even go so far as to like bring the snake and whoa. Which one of you is doing that? Is that me?
I don't hear it. Whatever you're talking about.
Really? That's freaky.
I'd just gone on mute, but I could still hear it.
Oh, you heard it too?
It's like crisps or something.
Yeah, it's like crackly and crisps and all that stuff.
It's Vaal. It's Vaal eating the fruit.
I don't hear it, but it might be me. I'm gonna go on mute.
No, it's okay. You know what it is, Fathery? It's the microphone. It sounds like when your microphone's rubbing against your shirt or something. Anyways, yeah, there you go. Anyways, so the expulsion from paradise, they even go so far as to like bring the Satan thing into it and like talk about it at the very end, and they use that to do the gag with Spock, and I love how he's offended and all that stuff. And it's quite interesting. But yeah, so like, what did you guys think of those connections? And I'm curious because in Star Trek VI, Spock has the painting of the expulsion to paradise from paradise. up on in his quarters, and he even, like Valeris asks, "What is this?" and he like references and everything like that. I wonder if this deeply affected Spock so much that he was like constantly thinking about that kind of idea or whatever. So, anyways,
that all things must end.
Mm.
There's some connection to the Garden of Eden in Star Trek II also.
Yeah, the Genesis cave and all that stuff. Yeah, you're right.
The return of the apple.
You see this episode is pretty crazy, right? Like it has all these like really cool like little tendrils that go out into the Star Trek universe. I kind of love it.
Yeah, I think it's actually for quite an innocuous episode, for want of a better word. It does affect the ripples from it affect others throughout, as you said from there. So yeah, it is quite. I think though I do like the ending of this one with Kirk, McCoy, and Spock.
Yeah,
saying, "Is there anybody here that resembles the devil?"
The classic devil.
As they're circling, which is actually quite a thing, because right at the very start, when they were pitching Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry wanted Spock red.
Oh, you're right. That's right.
Oh yeah,
and they said no. It looks, if you've got the ears and he's red, it looks far too much like the devil. And they said no. So there's that bit as well.
There is a character in Star Wars in the Creatures Cantina that's like exactly the devil, like with the horns and everything. That's funny.
Yeah. No, it's would you say it's one of the better filler episodes, or would you call it a filler episode? Or
I actually would call it a filler. We never get back to it. But like, I don't know. I think that actually, no, I take that back. I think it's a like what Robbie was saying, how it has because there aren't really filler episodes in TOS so far as I can tell. So yeah, maybe it's the proto filler episode, but it was definitely a different
non-essential viewing. But
it's not essential viewing, but when you do view it, it's interesting because it shows. I guess what resonated with me was when Father said the subversive nature of Star Trek. It is sending out like very clear messages, subversive sort of messages and themes, and dealing with like, a lot of things. Like just there's so many interesting themes here, and maybe it doesn't like quite hit you. It's not something that impacts you in a way that like is like, oh yeah, this is one of the great episodes of Star Trek. But like we were talking about in this discussion, I feel like it impacts you in the sense of like, this is an episode of Star Trek that like really kind of it's brave. It goes in a different direction. It's a little far out, like, and it's a good example of like what like the opposite of like the usual thing that you think of Star Trek, and it has a lot of depth and stuff like that.
I think also it's one of those crossover episodes. You can watch it as a kid and it's entertainment,
totally different vibe,
and then but as the adult you see this, as you've all said, the subversive nature and everything else. I think it's one of those ones that entertains the family completely across the board. You've got the children, you have you've got the action, you've got the lightning killing the red shirts, the exploding rocks, you've got the fight scenes, you've got everything that entertains children, but you've also got those lines as well that the adults that are watching it as well get as well.
Yeah, and it is kind of heady and thoughtful at times, like McCoy and Spock having the debate of like, does the system work, or like, are these people entitled to?
Oh yeah, that scene
was grow really and develop.
Yeah.
And also just like the stuff that they do with the idea of like, oh well, like sex is forbidden, and then like when Hutch and the girl are like, oh yeah, like that actually looks really cool, like we should touch each other.
But they do. But as they're after he's seen, he said, well, what purpose does it bring? It doesn't bring them food. It doesn't do that. They're not angry at each other and everything else. But it did look like they were enjoying it.
And I like at the end where they're like, and you'll have children, and she's like, what's that? And he's like, you'll find out. I do like that it's kind of a good episode. to broach the subject of the birds and the bees with too, in a weird way. You know, like if you're gonna like have that awkward, I won't go into the story of how that awkward conversation happened with my parents, but it was awkward. And so like I feel like it's a good way to like broach the subject with your kids. Like, do you know what they're talking about? Let me tell you about the birds and the bees, kid.
You also do very, very, very briefly. You have that Kirk questions himself. He questioned himself. He said, "I'm here. I'm following orders. It's all orders." Where he's talking to Bones, he's saying I'm just. He said, "I should have seen it. I was distracted by the lovely plants and all this stuff. I shouldn't be here. I should have realised. I should have beamed everybody up." It's you don't see him question himself very often, but you have that brief snippet where he does question himself.
Yeah, totally.
So
he's having his doubt.
Yeah, this episode has, without realising it, and we've just picked it there now. It's got so many things. You've got the humour, you've got the action, you've got the underlying tones, subversive underlying tones. You've got people questioning themselves, and it really does. It's one of those few episodes that seems to tick all the boxes, but isn't one of those ones that's truly outstanding.
Totally.
I think that's where you can put it. It's very Trek. It's very everything. It's got everything for everybody. But if you don't see it, it's not a great loss. It's really an odd one to actually try and place it.
As we go through TOS, we'll have to figure out if there's a sister episode. I like to make little box sets in my mind. You know, like certain episodes can go together and things like that. So I'm going to see what a good box set would be to complement.
Well,
this
I would
episode.
say, I mean, you could probably pair this with Return of the Archons.
Oh yeah, for sure. With the computer, ruling over society and the two different outcomes. It's true. Yeah, Scotty's here. That's so cool.
Hey, look who's just turned up.
Just at the end, he comes right in the end to ruin our blissful society of innocence with his introduction of the apple. That's it.
The devil's finally turned up. The devil is here.
Closing thoughts and ratings. I'll go first with the rating. I was gonna rate this episode as 6, but honestly, this conversation has raised my esteem, so I'm gonna give this episode a 7.5. I really do think that it is quite an interesting episode, worth a look. At least at least you got to see it one time, and it has some really interesting themes. So I really enjoyed the episode, but I enjoyed this discussion a lot more. It was very cool. So thank you, gentlemen. I'll hand it over to you next, my Jadmiral.
I will give it 7.2 fiery red Torinos.
I love it.
With the homage to Starsky and Hutch. Yeah, no, as I said, it's one of those episodes that does tick an awful lot of Star Trek boxes. It's a take it or leave it episode, but as I said, it can entertain everybody in the family, and every part of that family, young to old, gets something different from that episode.
Robbie.
I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I think if this is filler, which it isn't really filler, but if you'd classify this as filler, then it shows you just how good TOS is.
For sure.
And
yeah.
Especially the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, and I'd also say that I've forgotten what was I going to say.
It happens. It's okay. You're a little young to be having a senior moment, but it makes me happy that I'm not the only one that has them.
Yeah, if anybody's going to have a senior moment, that's for me.
If you remember, feel free to interrupt Fathery as he tells us what his closing thoughts are and ratings.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say.
I don't have much left to say. I would give this one, I guess, 7.47 rocks with good cleavage out of 10.
we all came to a pretty similar conclusion about this episode. Very nice and aligned. Very, very cool.
I remember now. I was just going to say, rewatching TOS, it's amazing how many beings that the Enterprise crew have to go against on a planet. Powerful beings or godlike beings.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. You're absolutely right. It
Yeah.
is funny.
You really feel like they're out on the frontier, like pressing into like new unexplored territory, and they're all like these strange, mysterious, powerful, deadly entities out there. And I don't think any other Star Trek show has that same feeling of like exploring the unknown, and there are these things like bigger and badder and more dangerous and ancient and powerful and scary. No one's ever done that to the extent that the original series did.
We may have a return to this kind of storytelling pretty soon with Strange New Worlds.
Exciting, I'm
very, very
really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I just hope they bring back the captain's log.
Yes, that would be really, really cool. I love the Captain's Log. Speaking of which, Captain's Log, it's time to end this broadcast. But if everyone will promote what they have to promote first, what's going on over at Trek Hat Cat? I'm sorry, I've been behind. This was a crazy week at work for me, so I'm going to catch up this weekend on all your stuff on your channel.
I've been trying to do a build, but unfortunately, I didn't have all the pieces. So I'm waiting for those pieces to arrive. I'm currently doing the Enterprise C. And then I've got a few more to follow. I'm hoping to do a lot of the chairs with the little minifigs.
You told us about that. I'm excited to see that.
So
very cool.
Those are the bits that I am really looking forward to doing. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm halfway through a build, but I'm waiting for the pieces. As soon as they arrive, then that will be going on my channel.
Excellent. What have you got going on, Earl Grey Trekkie?
So a Doctor Who discussion released today, and we're having a Superman 4 watch along tomorrow.
I'm so excited about that.
I'm not excited to watch that movie, but I'm excited to talk about it with y'all.
Did you hear who's going to be on the episode with us, Fathery?
The Doctor.
Yes, the Doctor returned, so it's going to be very cool. I'm excited.
I thought that we were doing Superman 4 last week. So like Sunday, I was like, okay, like I'm ready to go. And then y'all were doing Blade Runner, and I was like, oh, never mind then.
That was because the Doctor wanted to do it.
And I think we were waiting for you. I felt like we were waiting for you too, because we wanted to have you on. I know it's probably torture for you, but it's fun to have you in there. But
I always want to like Superman 4, but I never do.
That was fun, though. I have to say, Robbie, that was cool that we did that Blade Runner 2049 discussion. I mean, watch along. So that was cool. Thanks for hosting that. We got to do a Blade Runner one because you haven't seen it in a long time, and you definitely haven't seen the director's cut. So we gotta do a classic Blade Runner one. Maybe we'll do it on Starfleet Boy after dark. But Fathery, what's going on Text Trek?
We took a couple of weeks off, but we shall make our big triumphant return Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central, more than likely. And we're going to be discussing Babylon 5 Season 2. Like, some people had fun with our Babylon 5 Season 1 talk, so we'll go ahead and do Babylon 5 Season 2. And if people keep liking them, we'll keep doing them. It's hard for me because I kind of don't want to do anything that's not Star Trek related on the Text Trek channel, but Babylon 5, I often say it is the best non-Star Trek outer space show. I would take it over Galactica or Farscape or Stargate or The Expanse or anything else. I would take B5. So it's earned the privilege of being the only non-Star Trek topic that we discuss on Text Trek.
You're making Scotty's fly metaphors really happy right now. So that's very cool. I'm trying my best to catch up. I don't know why I haven't made traction on Babylon 5. Probably because there's so many other things to watch right now. But I'm going to try my best now that there's a little break. in all the excitement of Disney's Marvel shows and things like that. So, and we have a hiatus for Superman and Lois, so I think I have a little more time than I normally would. So I'll try to catch up by Friday. But either way, I'll definitely be in the.
If you can make it, hopefully I'll have Brian. I'm not sure who I was going to be there, but I'll find someone. I'm sure.
Yeah, and in answer, I just want to put in answer to Trek on the Tube. He said for me to be on Trek Chat, I'd love to.
Oh yay! Yes, that would be a very cool thing to have him on as a guest. That's cool. Walter Koenig was on B5. That's Star Trek related. Yes, that's true. Also,
a lot of Star Trek people are on there.
Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention
Barrett Roddenberry's on there.
Yeah,
she's the first lady of Star Trek. Yeah,
I forgot
a lot
to
of Star Trek actors. Captain Terrell from The Wrath of Khan is on there. A lot. The dude who plays Barclay is on there. There's a lot.
Oh, geez, I didn't realize that. Cake is Eternal mentioned that Walter Koenig is on B5. I forgot to mention no wig on Chekhov. That's Walter Koenig's real hair, which like mine will be short lived, and he'll go back to wearing wigs like I do. So we share that in common. So interestingly enough. But yeah, so that was an interesting change. He does look better without the wig. He looks good with his own hair. And also we get another, I thought one more thing with Chekhov, because I really love Chekhov, but we get another this happened in Russia, which it really didn't reference. Do you guys remember what was it?
The Garden of Eden.
Garden of Eden, just outside Moscow.
Right. He's like
just outside Moscow.
Just outside where it's in Moscow. It's like, and Kirk's like, okay.
Yeah, he's very very proud Russian man.
Because they also invented whiskey. They also invented.
That's right. Trek on the Tube. Finish Voyager. Damn it! I'm working on it. I'm on season 5.
Well, you can finish Voyager after you finish Babylon 5.
Yeah, it's true. I can wait. It's true. All right, everybody. Just to wrap it up, you guys know what's going on Starfleet Boy and Starfleet Boy After Dark. We have a new channel for Starfleet Boy After Dark. It's getting off to a pretty good start. We'd love some more support. So if you get a chance, please, if you haven't already, go over to Starfleet Boy After Dark on YouTube and subscribe and share and like and all that stuff. And definitely subscribe to these guys. They all have amazing content, and we'll live long and prosper. And we'll see you next time.